Alright, welcome back. So this is Wednesday's Activities Day recording, and we'll log in, and if I remember the password correctly. Alright, so this one will start setting up some services. So we'll start with, I'm going to cheat a little bit. Yes, I closed it down and it was unplanned. Live with it. Now, come on, you can do it. Come up to Windows Powershell, run as administrator. Yes. So when all that's said and done, we now have no roles running. And to save a bit of time, because I've done this before, we shall use the PowerShell commands, because quite frankly, they are a little bit easier on the referencing to actually do. If I continued to do all the activity sheets using just the GUI interfaces, the problem is I'm running to 20 to 40 pages in an activity because of all the screen captures. So it's a lot more concise to use PowerShell. So the activities I'll change over to just doing PowerShell. So I want to include management tools. So basically what we're doing here is installing a DNS service as a feature, and we want the management tools to be loaded at the same time. The speed of this will vary depending on what you need to do. Now, as the next step, we'll be activating the DHCP server feature set, which will also require us to do a restart. Not under normal circumstances. So at this point, if this was a fresh install, one that I hadn't been playing with previously and having DNS previously installed, you would be getting a message there saying you need to do a server restart. So this section here, the restart, would be yes. Okay, and the exit code would be successful restart, and then you'd have a warning saying restart. And the command is just restart, if I can type correctly, computer, and then you tell it to force the restart, which means I'll close everything down and do the restart. Now, because I've had this feature previously installed, it is not insisting on a restart. Now, the next step after the reboot on your behalf will be to come into step 2, which we add our zones. So what we want to do is create a zone. So we need to add a DNS server primary, no spaces mark, zone, and we need to give it a name, and the name of this will be Network 401. And we'll create a zone file, which will be network 401.dns. And we'll have it dynamic update. Set to none, so we don't want it going off and updating the zone automatically with other things. And we want pass-through to be active. Okay, it's remembering this file and everything from when I did it on the weekend. So, alright, let's just change the parameters. So, the zone name will be ML Network 401, and the zone file will be ML Network 401. There we go. Alright, so confirm that it has set it up by using the get DNS server zone command, and there it is. Alright, this is the one that I prepared earlier. Alright, so that's setting up a primary zone. Complex. So we now want to set up a reverse zone. So again, we're adding, and I need to click that again, so yep, there we go. We want to add DNS server primary, I did a space again, zone, and the network ID is the 10.0.0.0 stash zone, which is what I'm doing there. So we'll make it, I think I made it /16 last time, so I'll make it /24 this time. Zone file, and we're going to call it d0010.in address -address. It's there. Follow it. Jeez. Upper. How difficult is it? The DNS file zone. There we go. Typos will be common. You'll get that lovely red text as above. Just take your time, read what it's telling you, and adjust accordingly. So dynamic update, none, and we want to run the pass-through as well. Resource already exists. All right, fine. We won't recreate it. All right, so basically, again, using the get service to confirm that the service started. As you can see there, it's already there. So if we run the get command again, it'll just give us the same info. Now, if you want to remove something, what do? So if you're adding, you're going to remove something, aren't you? So primary zone, and generally speaking, I wouldn't need to use that, but I would. Doesn't like remove primary zone. Alright, remove, delete. Alright, gonna have to come back with that one. They're the normally the two commands to reverse something, so I'm going to have to still running. Alright. I don't need all the extra bits. It's just DNS zone. Remove DNS zone. And the name. Now, if I go back to my add statement, because one of the reasons why I really wanted to remove that is I'm pretty sure I had a different network ID in the original one that I created. So if I'm running a different network ID to the network that I'm running, it'll not work correctly. So let's see if my records are in place. So again, I'll use the, let's clear the screen first. All right, so just to get an idea of whether it's still holding where am I? Service, resource record. Alright, so because I created a new zone, it has no records in it. So this is good. So we need to add our records to the DNS server resource record. And what type of record are we going to add? We're going to add a record A, which is putting in the name to IP address. Okay, so which record are we putting in? Well, we're going to add a name. What's the host name that we want to add to our DNS record? So we'll do our, alright, so let's think back to the assessment. We need that sent OS for the internal server. So we'll make that sent -1. Yeah. Yes, Brad. So we need to add this record to a zone, and our zone that we created was network 401, and we need to assign an IPv4 address to the record. So now I made my primary server 100, so we'll make this 110. And then we're going to put a time to live counter on it. And we're going to create the PTR pass through. So we now have one type A record for a host. So what do we now want to do? Well, we can check that it was in the record using that lovely get DNS record name. So here it is, it's now part of our records. This is the actual name server. This is the server advertisement, and there's our host. We can remove entries, which you saw us do before. So I won't bother you with that one. Now, we did, alright, so it should, now that we've got it entered in there, be a PTR as well, because we asked it to create the PTR record. Alright, so this record should be dual. Alright, it should be able to search on that data and resolve to that address and host name. Now, how do you verify that the resolution has occurred? Well, name system, and we can do a lookup, and we can type in the name. So we can go sent-1, and where is it located? It's on ML network 401. Okay, that's where it should be. And it's a local host record. No, not finding it. Oh, that's not good. So what's going on? Did it not find it? Is the domain name not service not running correctly? Does it screen? Oh. You know how it didn't ask for that reboot? I got a feeling it needs it anyway. Because it's stopped. Yeah, I got a feeling we might need to do a reboot for that service to come up correctly. So let's do that. Don't know if you could hear that through the mic, but I had something rattling quite loudly on my desk. Okay, while that's having a hernia, I'll drag this in. So basically, when we did the install Windows featured DNS, we should have got this restart required. And because we didn't do that restart, I'm thinking the service isn't running correctly. So this is why I'm attempting the restart. Now, and because it's not a total clean install, I've had to change my domain zone a little bit. So we should be hopefully able to resolve this after the reboot has finished. Because as with everything in computing, if it's not doing what you want, kick it in the soft boot. What IP address did I actually set? $10,00100. Yeah, see, I didn't do the 24. I only did 16. So I think I shall change that out to the 24 network, like we've set for that certs. And the preferred DNS is going to be what? Four services not running. Oh dear. Alright, probably because we haven't finished setting it up. I'm hoping that's what it is. I didn't have all these issues the first time I came through. Come on, fire up. Thank you, Powershell it. So we know, yeah, there we go. Resolved straight away that time after that reboot. So this one, I used the old zone name, and it said the domain doesn't exist. Straight, quick reply. So rerun the lookup using the fresh domain zone that we set up, and we got a reply with an IP address straight away. Now, with this, we can also do the domain name, so we can do a resolve DNS name I can't look. It's like everything else. The more you do it, the more comfortable it is. Now, this is just you basically only do this once every now and then. So make sure you've got it in your reference log. Right. You should keep a personal log of commands and that you don't tend to use very often, and or have a reference book of some sort that you keep these things in, because all what you've got to do is be able to look it up when you need it. So we should be able to resolve the name to a type A record on the server and there it is. Okay, so you'll get used to using lookup, NS lookup, because you'll do that on machines as part of troubleshooting. So you'll get used to using the NS lookup command. Resolve DNS name, I only do it while I'm teaching, generally. If you need to make an entry into the enterprise's domain name service, because you're only making entries into the local name server that you use within your organization. You are not editing the domain name servers of the internet. You're only doing the ones that are in your organization. So the names of the servers and that you create, that you want to quickly be able to jump back and forth. So as with everything else, us humans remember names easily, not so good with address strings. So this is why we create a local DNS server to resolve our own organization names. We use the forwarder option so that we can, when we get a request from coming in and it's not one of our local names, it forwards it out to the internet to be resolved out there. So it's not often that you'll need to do these. Just have the knowledge to come back and look these things up when you need to have them. So this one, we're checking to make sure that we can do a type A lookup, and rinse and repeat to check that the PTR record was created when we set the record up. So there's our reverse lookup happening. So if you remember when we created the entry, we told it to create the entry in both the type A and automatically to create the PTR record. So we don't have to create both records separately, we can just do it all at once. Now the next one or section that we need to enter is email addresses, because when people do lookups on host names, they're quite often looking for contact details. So we can add that information using the resource record command again. And this time it's an MX record, and it's a name, and the name we're entering this record for is our sent one, and I need to put that in quotation marks, as it's a string, and it's a mail exchange on sent one dot network 401 with a zone name of ML network 401, and we want to give it a preference of 10 with a time to live of 1 hour. And should we finish it all off with? Pass it through. And that's not going to work because Y is not a U. Okay, what? What did I mistype? Add DNS server resource record. Did I not start this run as administrator? I'm pretty sure I did. Did I forget to do that? No, that's add DNS server resource record Linux. Now let's make sure that it's not case sensitive, so I'll go back through and add the capitals where our friends over at have added those in. I'm really doing well with typing today, aren't I? Crikey. Must have had a typo in there somewhere, folks. I don't know where. Alright. So, how can we confirm that that record is active? We use the get DNS record. Now, it's a resource record. And the zone name that we want to retrieve is ML Network 401. And I want to conditionally format the table with auto size and wrapping. Oh God. Why didn't you say I missed a word out of the whole thing? Alright, so when you do a search for Sent1 now, you should get the IP address and some information as an email address as well. Now, if you don't want the records, you use the remove. Instead of add, remove. Alright. And alias is the next one we need to cover. So this one's going to be cleared. So we want to add an alias for central one. So doing add DNS server resource record. What type of record is it? It's a CNAME. What name is it? It's Fred. And what host name alias does this apply to? And it helps if I include that letter there as well. So cent-1 at network at ml network 401 is where we're pointing it to, which is a member of the zone ML network 401, and we want to pass through. So we now have an alias for cent-1. So if we do the get resource record zone command again, we now have Fred as a record for this name. So can we do a resolve on Fred? A DNS name. And what's the name? It's Fred dot network 401. And the server I want to resolve the name against is local host. And Fred comes back, and here's our name, the time to live count, and its IP address. Works wonders when you don't do typos, hey? Alright, the other, we'll skip the secondary zone and subzones within server world because we're not having a secondary DNS server. But you do need to understand how to pass requests through to another server. So normally this would be a server that you also control. All right, so but we consider that. Now, because of the virtualized system that we are running, we are not connected to the internet. So normally I would pass this through to an outside server. If I'm running a standalone like I am here, I would set my server folder to another DNS out there, such as Google's DNS server 888. So we'll do that. We won't be able to use it, but we can set it up so you can see how it works. So the IP address that I want to pass the server through to is there. There's the record, and you basically can resolve against that address normally as it's outside, but as you can see by our little yellow triangle there, we've got no internet access under our virtualization because I don't want to NAT all these addresses out. I want to be able to network within the 10 network. So that's how you check it. Now you can use the get the typing could be good. Server forward. Alright, so that just confirms. Alright, so this is the little table entry saying it's there. That's the address that the forwarder is using. Now, I think that basically recovers all the main steps that you'll need within DNS. So basically we have a table entry, we can look it up, we have attached an email address. So if I do a DNS lookup on Fred, we'll spend 2 seconds and I can't remember what I'm supposed to type. It's disgraceful. Put in the full name. So which one? There we go. You need to put the full URL in. So universal resource locator. In other words, the name and the domain. I keep forgetting the basics. Alright, so that's DNS. So the next section will be DHCP, installation and reboot. So I will do these as separate videos. I think that's probably